back to work and they have not been approved by our office, it will result in a loss of their pension benefit. The retiree will have to repay their benefit amount plus interest for the time they have violated our return to work policies. And last, if they decide they do not want to be an active member, they will have to reapply for retirement. This creates more paperwork for them, for you, the HR's department, and for our member service department. So please be careful. Always verify return to work status. You can email your assigned analyst or you can contact me and I can verify that information for you. I want to thank you all for joining us today. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer those questions. You can always send an email to me and I can answer any questions via email. Just let me know. Okay. And again, I want to thank you guys for being here. I hope this information was informative. We're planning on doing some more trainings like we did our return to work training, where we do a live stream of information regarding our Form 9's adjustments and statements. And I'm also working on a training for salaries that are covered and not covered. So that information should be coming to you all here in the future. So, if you don't have, oh, yes?
Are you taking questions right now?
Yes, please. So Marlene has a microphone. If you have questions, just let her know. She'll run around and answer, let you speak.
Yes, I have the microphone, so so I'll come to you if you have any questions. But if you're good, then I hope the presentation was informative.
Yes. Send me an email. Let me know if this information was helpful and if there's information that you want me to cover in the future. Thank you. Oh, that was...
Okay, we have a question here.
I have a question. So what is one of the reasons why a retiree would be denied to return to work? I've never seen it happen, but I just wanted to know.
Okay. So it depends on the program that you're applying for. There are 4 different programs. There's the original Return to Work program where first reason someone would be denied is they don't apply. That's across the board. Every program you need to first put in a Return to Work application. If you go to work without putting a Return to Work application, you're in violation. Therefore, once we receive reportings and employer reporting then informs member services of this, per statute, we must suspend your benefit, and this can take a couple months for us to get this information. So we would need to, at that time, recover any months that you were overpaid. That's the primary reason why our members are being denied. Then back to the number of months. So the original Return to Work program, you must lay out 12 consecutive months prior to being approved. So if you apply and you have not laid out for 12 consecutive months, you don't qualify. There's also the new Return to Work 36 month, which you must lay out 90 days. So if you don't lay out those 90 days prior to returning to work, you're not approved. There's several employees that they may retire and then they worked for a school system in a different capacity. They were doing services, and that's the way that the rule and statute read. Any services provided to a local administrative unit. So if you are volunteering, that is still considered you weren't laid out. So that's another reason your 90-day clock or your 12-month clock, it's not going to start until you've actually not been working in any capacity. I hope that answered your question.
Okay, then the other question I had was, so we get a lot of retirees who want to go to like subbing, and you know, a lot of times I don't see their retirement application because we have like a third-party subbing company, but sometimes they will come to me and they'll let me know, but I just wanted to know like the category that they do apply for. Like let's just say they apply for like the regular return to work. They lay out, you know, let's just say they do the 36 month. And they lay out the 90 days, but they're marked off as the return to work 36 months. But if they say, okay, never mind, I don't want to do that, I want to do subbing, so would they have to reapply again for a different category?
So the substitutes, once you're retired, you don't fall into all these categories as Melissa was mentioning before for active members. It's completely separate, and that's another reason that's another way that our retirees are getting into trouble and violating, is the schools are, they're mixing them up. So they're thinking, oh, if you substitute, you don't have to worry about completing a return to work. No, if you're retired, you're required to complete an application. So it's on the LAU what their employee or that retiree into. If they are going to be working under the 0.25 FTE, then that's the program that they would apply for under return to work, is the 0.25 or FTE or less. Now, if they're going to be working less than 15,000, then that's the program that they'd be put under. And then, of course, there's the others. Well, the main program, which it will be sunsetting here at the end of this year. So anyone that's going to be retiring, that's still an employee and has not retired, they don't have an opportunity to go into the regular program. That one will go away effective January 1st. January 1st. So all our current retirees that have laid out or will lay out by December 31st and have that 12-month layout, they're eligible to apply, but they must be approved by December 31st in order to be grandfathered into that program.
Okay, thank you. I had another question, but it just slipped. What was it? I'm trying to think. Oh,
Think about it. Think about it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I just want to make sure this is still correct, that if you get a medical retirement, you are not eligible to return to work. Yes, that is correct, and that's because you are you're receiving a disability benefit. It is not a retirement, therefore there's not a return to work program for you. And under the disability rule, you are receiving a benefit because you cannot work. Yes.
I just wanted to clarify the point on subs that Ariel was just asking about. We have ESS as our third-party subbing company, and I just wanted to make sure that you're saying that the same rules would apply for a third-party company that, you know, is not associated in terms of ownership with the district. However, the subs are working in our schools.
Yes, that is correct. If they're
Okay.
providing a service that would be a position that could be held by an employee of the Educational Retirement Board, and they're retired, they must, regardless if it's third party or it's through the schools, they must follow the same return to work rules.
Okay, I have another question about the third party. ESS does not pay to ERB.
No, that would be up to the school. So the schools are branching out and they're hiring subs for a specific school. So again, this may be something that Melissa could answer more on the employer portion, but they are required just like everyone else to contribute. But a third party is not, from my knowledge, going to contribute for the school.
No, so what's going to happen is a third-party applicant needs to go to our website, download that third-party application. They need to submit it for approval before they can start working with a third-party contractor. So if they haven't done that and they don't have that approved on file with our office, and we get the wages, if you report them on your work report and it shows up, we're going to identify them as a violator of our return to work program. So-
Okay, my questions weren't about the return to work. My questions were about the subbing.
Okay, so as far as
I mean,
subbing,
the third-party company that is contracted with CCSD in this case is not contributing to ERB.
okay,
And the number of employees that they have, they aren't required to, according to their attorney. It is something I can talk to you about later, but I just want to make sure we're in compliance.
and that's a conversation that probably you and I and Selena
Yes.
need to have to make sure that the retirees that are working for this third-party contractor are doing correctly, because we don't want them to be in violation of our return to work policies. We don't want to suspend those benefits because it's a costly mistake on the retiree to have to pay back those pension benefits, and then most likely they're not working the same type of job that they were working when they were an active member. So I'm going to say let's have a conversation with Selena probably later next week and make sure that we don't have any of those individuals violating our policies.
That sounds great, thank you. And we'll involve a few other people in our organization so that we've got all the parties present.
Absolutely.
Okay.
As far as substitutes, retirees coming back as a substitute, always remember that they have to be reported under the job category that they were approved for. I want to say if you have individuals that have retired, I encourage you to get them to submit the application for approval for the RT and the TU, because there's no limit. They can come back and work, next January, and there's no limit to how much they can work. If you look at the other job categories, the RE and the RW, if those individuals are working more than the $15,000 limit, or they go over the 0.25, they're in violation of their return to work. They're going to suspend their benefit, and they're going to have to pay back those pension benefits. You guys will end up losing a valuable asset. That person may decide, well, forget it, I'm just going to go back and reapply for my retirement, and I'm not going to do this anymore. So, it needs to be a conscious effort on the retiree into how much they want to work for a school after they've retired. So, I tell people, because I worked in the payroll department, I tell them, how much do you want to work after retirement? If you want to continue working, you might just think about staying as an active member, delaying your retirement, because that's just going to that's going to make your pension benefit larger when you do retire. But I'm not a member retirement specialist. I'm going to always say, have your employees contact our agency to go over those options, especially if they're thinking about, the different tiers, and they're talking about, retirement versus staying on, another 5 years, they can run the numbers and get an idea of what it's going to look like. Any other questions?
I have another question. So we have employees who are already retired, and they've worked with us, for a couple of years. They're under the regular return to work. Do you guys require anything from them if they decide to say, hey, I want to go back to retirement? Like, do you require the withdrawal from the return to work, or just leave it?
So if you have retirees that have retired and they're approved for the RT or the TU, they will be grandfathered into that job category. That's a great category to be in because that's not going to change. They can work part-time or full-time. If they want to suspend their retirement benefit and come back, we do have an application to withdraw from return to work. And then they can come back to working as an active employee, making those contributions, and then improving their retirement benefit later on. Now, that being said, if they want to retire later on in their career and come back to, look at the current job categories, our traditional return to work job category will go away starting January 1. So they won't have that option again. Once they withdraw from that, that's it. No going back to that particular job category. So, it's a question that probably a retirement specialist will be able to answer better than myself, just because they can look at what a benefit would be with 5 more years of service.
I have another question.
Okay, sure.
So we get a lot of employees who actually accrue sick leave, right? And they want to convert it to service credit. And I know I always tell them to fill out the application. And then, so what happens from there? I mean, I never had to process it yet, but can you kind of explain it?
Actually, I've never even had to deal with that. So I know that, unused sick leave can be used to purchase service credit. And I think maybe Monica will be able to answer that better.
The process is to go onto our website and to request the application. On the application, it requires that the member go into their member self-service and calculate an estimate, because it is costly. It's not, it's a form of, it's an actuarial cost. So although they may have that sick leave, what that sick leave is doing is giving them that ticket basically to be eligible to get this additional time. However, they still have to purchase it. And that's why you probably haven't seen one come past your desk, because once they go onto the calculator and they see how expensive it is, there's very few of our members that have actually purchased it. But it is available. They do have to have a certain amount of hours built up, and then depending on that, and that's all on our website, depending on the number of accumulated time, then that would convert to either being able to purchase 1 quarter up to 1 year. They cannot purchase more than a year. But once they do have that, and then the employer would have to certify that they are going to use this much time to be eligible to purchase those, say, that year of service credit. And then they would be able to, we would do the actual calculation once we get certification from the employer that this is what they're choosing to do. And once they do purchase that, the employer, you would receive an email from us stating that the purchase was processed, and then you would have to remove that sick leave from their bank. They are no longer allowed to use that. They cannot transfer that. You cannot pay them out for that. It's gone. Does that answer your question? Okay. Are there any other questions?
Going once, going twice.
And again, you're more than welcome to stay for the next presentation. I always like to tell HR and payroll staff members, the information that we're going to provide is also helpful because you guys are contributing members, and it's good to know and share with your staff.
We have another question here.
Okay, we're cutting you off.
I'm sorry. Do you guys have like any information for like retirees as far as like where what other options are available for like benefits wise? I know there's the retiree health care, of course, and you know I try to give them options here and there, but I was just thinking if you guys had something available for them too.
I will actually briefly touch on that in my presentation. As far as in-depth options, I haven't learned enough of that yet. She's going to be the better resource for that information, but I do briefly touch on those options in my presentation. Okay?
Thank you, guys. Remember, the employee session starts at 4 o'clock, so. Thank you, guys. Remember, the employee session starts at 4 o'clock.
This one's not on. Is it? Hello? Okay. Are we good to go? Yeah, good afternoon. We just want to welcome everybody and thank you guys for joining us. My name is Ariel, and I know most of you already know who I am. I am the HR benefit specialist at Central Schools. And just a little bit about me, my clans are Ma'ideshkishni, Tachitni, Betahni, and Tabahe. I have been working with the district for 5 years, and I started out as a clerical at HR, and now I'm the benefit specialist with Central. So I do work, with you and your families with your benefit needs, and just helping you in that area. But we just want to say welcome. We're glad that each of you have came out today and joining us. So we just want to thank the New Mexico Educational Retirement Board. These are I'm sorry. They actually came out from Albuquerque, and they're with us to host this seminar for us. So we just want to thank Chris Overson, Jared, kind of getting the IT set up. So right there's Jared back there. Yay. So at the beginning of the year, so we get a lot of questions with retirement, the resources, and so this is something that our benefits team and ERB, we've been working with them beginning of the year, and we kind of got this all going, so this seminar going. So we just wanted to, arrange this seminar just to share some retirement resources, some information, and also provide some updates, as far as like legislation goes, retirement information. So both sessions, or no, not the first session, but this session is going to be recorded. So we're going to have the video available on our CCSD website. And you can also view it through the YouTube channel as well. So let me see. So I just wanted to introduce, if any of you guys know, this is Marlena Harvey. She's our benefits supervisor. And then we also have Chastity Wooten here, and she's the HR clerical. She's also works with our benefits team. And she's fairly new, so not a lot of you haven't met her yet, but she's also with our benefits team. So I will turn it over to the ERB team here, and then we'll get started. And then just a few things that we just want to mention. So you guys already know where the bathrooms are at, but just the exits as well is on both sides here. And then afterwards, after the presentation, we'll open it up to questions. So we'll have one of us are going to run around with the microphone, so that way you can let us know what your questions are, okay? All right.
Thank you, Ariel. All right, can you guys hear me okay? Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out here today. I am Renee. I am with ERB, and, oops, sorry, give me just a second to get my screen going here. So anyway, thank you all for taking the time to attend today. Thank you to Ariel and Marlena, and for those behind the scenes for putting this all together so we could come speak with you. Great job, guys. This is my team. This is Monica, our Member Services Director, and this is Melissa, who you might have seen earlier doing our employer reporting presentation. Thank you both for joining me today. Just a quick background on us. I am new to ERB, only having started in January, so this is my first ERB presentation, and I'm learning just as you are. Monica has been with ERB for just shy of a decade and comes with so much knowledge. She'll be a great resource of information for you, for information you might need. And Melissa has been with ERB for about 5 years and is a subject matter expert in anything she does, though she'll probably say otherwise. I apologize, guys, this cord's catching on it and it's pulling my hair. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin.
Like Ariel said, the bathrooms are located, where the bathrooms are located, as well as the exits. I do have one request. If you could just please silence your phones for the presentation, just so that those in our live stream audience, it's not, disruptive. I don't know how the sound will present to them. So, all right, let's get started. Retirement and what you need to know. So who is NMERB? Well, we are New Mexico Educational Retirement Board. Whether you're starting out as an educational employee or preparing to retire after a rewarding career, you'll want to get to know us as you prepare for your future. We are here for your journey from early career, mid-career, retirement preparations, and beyond retirement. We are a subsidiary of the state of New Mexico, a public pension fund provider serving close to 200,000 active, inactive, and retired members. Our mission is to provide secure retirement benefits for New Mexico educational employees, past, present, and future. At ERB, we are committed to you. We are charged with providing secure retirement benefits to employees of New Mexico public schools, institutions of higher learning, and certain employees at state agencies who work in educational programs. We administer the Defined Benefit Plan, which is a lifetime benefit plan for you and a designated beneficiary, depending on your benefit option choice. There is no maximum benefit or cap. The longer you work, the higher your benefit payment. Today's topics. So we're covering who is NMERB, who are our members, what a defined benefit plan is, those in early career and mid-career, what you need to know, life-changing events, eligibility, service credit, know your retirement options, considerations before retiring and retirement readiness, payroll and COLA, return to work program, and much more information. Who is NMERB? Who are our members? We are New Mexico Educational Retirement Board. We are a defined benefit plan providing retirement income and benefits to New Mexico educational employees. We are comprised of over 200 active, inactive, and retired members. Our members include employees working more than 0.25 full-time equivalent, or FTE as you'll hear me refer to it. Eligible employees become a member with NMERB when they begin employment with an NMERB employer. Membership is a condition of employment. The defined benefit plan. We are a defined benefit plan, meaning both you and your employer contribute a certain percentage towards your retirement plan. The defined benefit plan provides stable monthly pension payment for the life of the retiree. It also offers members two options to provide lifetime benefits to surviving beneficiaries after the retiree's death. So those in early and mid-career, as an employee of NMERB employer working more than 0.25 FTE, contributing to the retirement is a condition of employment, as I mentioned. So for the fiscal year of 2023, an employee is contributing 7.9% of their wages earned under the $24,000 annually mark, and an employer will contribute 17.15%. For a wage earner earning more than $24,000 annually, they'll contribute 10.7%, and the employer will contribute 17.15%. For the fiscal year of 2024, the employer contribution rate will increase, and the employee contribution rate will remain the same. An employee will contribute 7.9% wages for wages earned under $24,000 annually, and the employer will contribute 18.15%. For a wage earner making more than $24,000 annually, they'll contribute 10.7%, and the employer will contribute 18.15%. So, for more information on the contribution rate schedule, see the FY contribution rate schedule on our website for updated information based on each fiscal year. Life-changing events. So no matter what stage of your career you are in, you want to make sure your information with ERB is current. Examples to keep current include your mailing address, of course, keeping an updated mailing address and even phone number on file, not only with ERB, but also with your employer, is important to maintain communication from ERB. a name change due to marriage, divorce, or for any other reason, it's important to keep us informed. Your beneficiary designation. It's always best to have an updated, accurate beneficiary designation form on file, no matter what stage of your career you're in. Even if an employee intends their spouse or domestic partner as their beneficiary, a properly executed form ensures that there are no questions or conflicts as to who may receive a survivor benefit. Illness or injury, disability. In the unfortunate event that you become or get injured prior to retirement, you may be eligible for disability benefits under the NMERB's defined benefit plan. See our disability benefits on our information on our website to learn more. Death of a member or a beneficiary. So it's important to notify ERB in the event of a member or beneficiary's death so we can properly process the account, including making any payment due to the beneficiaries. So retirement eligibility considerations and the application process. All right, eligibility, find your tier. So ERB has 4 tiers. The tier you are in is based on when you began employment with an ERB employer. When you are vested, meaning you have 5 years of qualified service credit, you are eligible for retirement on the earliest date you meet one of the following criteria. So I'm going to ask for a little audience participation in this part. Who in here began employment with an ERB employer before July 1st, 2010? Oh, they got a lot of tier 1s in here. All right. So you're going to be in our tier 1. So there are 3 ways to qualify for retirement in this tier. You have your 25 and out, meaning earned service credit plus allowed service credit equals 25 or more years. There is no age minimum requirement in this one. The rule of 75, your age plus earned service credit equals 75 or more. And then there's the 65 and 5. If you're at least 65 and have 5 or more years of service credit, you are eligible. Just note, COLA eligibility begins at 65 for tier 1. All right, who are my tier 2s? Who began employment after July 1st, 2010, but before July 1st, 2013? Okay. Well, in this tier, there are also 3 ways to qualify. The first is 30 and out, meaning earned service credit equals 30 or more years. The second is the rule of 80, meaning your age plus earned service credits equals 80 or more. And the third is 67 and 5. If you are at least 67 and 5 or more years of service credit, you are eligible. COLA eligibility begins at age 65 for this tier. All right, where are my tier 3s? Those who began after July 1st, 2013, but before July 1st, 2019. All right, there you are, thanks. So this one applies to you. You have 3 ways to qualify. 30 and out, meaning earned service credit, 30 or more years. The rule of 80, meaning your age plus earned service credit equals 80 or more. Or the 67 and 5. If you have at least 67, or if you are at least 67 and have 5 or more years of service credit, you are eligible. COLA eligibility begins at age 67 for this tier. So do we have any tier 4 members, those beginning, or that began work after July 1st, 2019? We have a couple over there, all right. So this one, there are 3 ways to qualify for this as well. So this one, you'll have a 30 and out, meaning earned service credit equals 30 or more years. You'll have a rule of 80, meaning your age plus earned service credit equals 80 or more. The 67 and 5, if you're at least 67 and have 5 or more years of service credit, you are eligible. The tier 4 multiplier applies to all tier 4 members. COLA eligibility begins at age 67. The annual benefit calculation. When you are eligible to retire, you receive a gross monthly lifetime benefit that is currently based on the following formulas. For tiers 1 through 3, it's going to be your final average salary times your years of service times 2.35% pension factor. That equals your gross annual benefit. For tier 4, if you're under tier 4, the defined benefit plan will use a tiered multiplier. That is your final average salary times your graduated multiplier equals your gross annual benefit. A pension is calculated using a graduated tier. The pension factor changes every 10 years up to 30 and then remains 2.4% thereafter. For tiered multipliers, calculation is dependent on years of service. For more information on tiered multiplier, please reach out to our member services team. All right, service credit. So service credit, 1 year of service credit equals, it's broken down into the 4 quarters. First quarter, July, August, September. Second is October, November, December, so on and so forth. Earned service credit is a member of ERB's defined benefit plan receives service credit for each calendar quarter which they are employed by an ERB employer and make contributions to that plan. Buying back withdrawn service credit. If you have withdrawn your contributions from ERB's defined benefit plan, you have the right to buy back years of service credit up to the amount withdrawn plus interest at the current rate set by ERB. This applies to both active and inactive members. However, you may not buy back service credit if you have retired. Allowed service credit. The Educational Retirement Act allows certain types of service credit to be purchased and credited to a member's account. This allowed service credit, limited to a total of 5 years, will be included in the computation of the retirement benefit and counted toward retirement eligibility based on the Tier 1 25 and out requirement only. Allowed service credit is not counted toward retirement eligibility based on any of the other retirement options. However, it will apply when calculating the retirement benefit under the other retirement options. Allowed service credit does not count towards becoming vested in the ERB plan. To become vested in the ERB plan, a member must complete 5 years of earned service credit. Earned service credit is credit earned while working more than 0.25 FTE for an ERB-covered employer. Military service. Members who previously served in the military or the Commissioned Corps of the Public Health Service may purchase up to 5 years of allowed service credit in the defined benefit plan. Service credit for an active duty may be purchased after 5 years of employment by an NMERB entity. Purchase a service credit based on accumulated sick leave. Beginning July 1st, 2020, a member who has acquired 5 years of earned service credit may purchase additional service credit based on the amount of unused sick leave they accumulate. For more information on service credit, please visit our website or reach out to our member services team. So on the next 2 slides, I will discuss the importance of the retirement options. Take into consideration your financial situation and any beneficiaries. So know your retirement options for all tiers. Upon retirement, you have options to consider when selecting a beneficiary. Option A, this is the highest monthly benefit amount. There is no lifetime benefit for a beneficiary. However, any unused contributions will be refunded to the designated beneficiary. This is the only option that you can have more than one beneficiary. This is also the only option that can be an estate, charity, or organization. For option B, this is a reduced benefit. This is the least monthly benefit amount option. This option provides 100% survivor's benefit for the remainder of their life. There is a 10-year age provision for a non-spouse option, meaning the beneficiary cannot be more than 10 years younger than the member to receive this benefit. Option C. Under option C, your monthly benefit is reduced to provide a designated beneficiary with 50% survivor's benefit for their lifetime. Under both options B and C, you may only name one beneficiary and your beneficiary must be a person. Things to consider when determining a retirement. So age reductions. For the rule of 75 in Tier 1, there is a permanent reduction in benefits if you are under the age of 60. For the rule of 80 in Tiers 2, 3, and 4, there is a permanent reduction in benefits if you are under the age of 65. And working longer will minimize or get rid of age reductions. So consider all your finances, such as savings, your debts, other income sources, such as Social Security. What about property and other assets? Healthcare options and costs. These are not included in your estimate of benefits and are your responsibility to research, select, and set up with a third party. Options to consider would be New Mexico Healthcare Authority. Look into their monthly premiums. The employer's healthcare, check with your employer HR for options, and also a spouse's healthcare. Forms. All of our forms can be found on our website under the Forms tab, including the Request for Benefit Estimate form. So when you are within 1 year of retirement, submit a request for an audited benefit estimate to determine what your pre-tax benefits will be. So for the application for retirement process, please follow these steps. First, get the retirement application. This can be found on our website under the Forms tab. Complete the application. Page 1 of the application is going to be the member completion. If not completing through DocuSign, where every portion is being completed by you and your employer, if applicable, this must be submitted with a wet signature. Page 2 is to be completed by the employer. Check with your HR or payroll department for assistance. Page 3 is your proof of age, as well as proof of age for your beneficiary. For your proof of age, this can be completed with the document showing your name and date of birth, and for your beneficiary, this is required when you request options B or C calculations on page 1 of the retirement application. Submit the application. Review all information prior to submitting to ensure a streamlined process. We ask that you please submit your application 60 to 90 days before your requested retirement date. And once we've received your application and it has been processed, you will receive your retirement packet. In your retirement packet, you will have 5 forms. You'll have your final selection of benefits form. This must be notarized. This form is used to select your pension payment option. You are not able to modify this option once it's submitted. You'll have your direct deposit form, federal and New Mexico tax deduction form. Also, please note, NMERB cannot give any tax guidance, so please consult with a tax professional for that information. Permanently reduced rate calculation notice, if it's applicable. This form acknowledges that you understand that based on your age, your retirement benefits will be permanently reduced. And you'll have a return to work after retirement notice. Whether you think you will return to work or not, it's important that you read and sign NMERB's return to work notice. Failure to comply can result in a suspension of benefits. Payroll and COLA. Upon receiving your final retirement documents and final reporting from your employer, you will be placed on payroll. Benefits are directly deposited on the last business day of the month. For example, if you retire July 1st of 2023, your first pension payment is July 31st of 2023. If you retire with NMERB reciprocity, you'll receive two separate direct deposits, one from ERB and one from PARA. For those not familiar, reciprocity occurs when a member has service credit with both an NMERB employer and NMPARA employer. For more information on PARA and reciprocity, please just reach out to our Member Services Department. COLA. COLA is the cost of living adjustment. It is a variable and is based on the Consumer Price Index. For tiers 1 and 2, COLA eligibility begins on July 1st of the year you turn 65 or July 1 of the year following your effective retirement date, whichever is later. For tiers 3 and 4, COLA eligibility begins on July 1 of the year you turn 67 or July 1 of the year following your effective retirement date, again, whichever is later. COLA is calculated every year, and you can find the rate on our website. Return to work programs. It's important to note for all return to work programs, an application must be submitted by the member and approved by NMERB before work can begin. Retirees who fail to satisfy the requirements under the Educational Retirement Act and NMERB rules addressing return to work after retirement will have their pension benefits suspended, and any benefits received during the ineligible return to work period will be required to be paid back, including interest. So under this program, we have under return to work, we have multiple programs. The first I'm going to discuss is the 36 months, consecutive or non-consecutive. This program requires a 90-day consecutive layout, and the retiree may work a maximum of 36 consecutive and or non-consecutive months. There are no earning limits or full-time equivalent under this program. Retirees in the program shall make non-refundable employee contributions to the NMERB fund. Employers will also continue to make employer contributions for the retirees in this program. The Return to Work program 12-month consecutive layout. It is important to note that this is a current option, but it will sunset on January 1st of 2024. Sorry, guys. This program requires a 12-month consecutive layout. There are no earning limits or full-time equivalency under this program. Retirees in this program shall make non-refundable employee contributions to the NMERB fund. Employers will also continue to make the employer contributions for retirees in this program. Return to work program earning less than $15,000. This program requires a 90-day consecutive layout period. Contributions are not required by either the employee or employer. A member may not earn even more than the $15,000 per fiscal year. Earning even $1 more will cause your benefit to be suspended, and any benefit payments issued post-violation must be repaid. And then the Return to Work program, working 0.25 full-time equivalent or less. Retirees may return to work at 0.25 full-time equivalency or less. There is no layout period required for this program. However, an application must be submitted and approved before a member may actually begin work. Contributions are not required by the employee or the employer. Please remember, prior to beginning work with an NMERB employer, after retirement, the following steps must be followed. A member must apply and submit an application for one of the return to work options. The member must receive approval from ERB, and the member must provide the employer with a copy of that approval. And to reiterate, retirees who fail to satisfy the requirements under the Educational Retirement Act and NMERB rules addressing returning to work after retirement will have their pension benefits suspended, and any benefits received during the ineligible return to work period will be required to be paid back, including interest. Oh, sorry, changed that slide too soon. So the return to work comparison table. When deciding which program to choose, you can use this as a reference to see options for each. This can be found on our website under the Retired Member tab. Use this chart to understand what is required within each provision to decide. For ERB news and announcements, subscribe to our ERB Connect member newsletter, and above all, register on the NMERB member self-service site to access your account. For more information, contact us. We're here for you. We will do our best to answer all your questions. And then also for additional resources, we have included the information for the New Mexico Retiree Healthcare Authority, the New Mexico Public Employee Retirement Association, the Social Security Administration, and the federal and New Mexico taxes. All this information is also available on our website. That's it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time, and we'll open it up for questions.
Does anybody have any questions as far as their retirements or any just general questions? If you do, please raise your hand. And I think we have a couple of people online too that are participating and watching this retirement seminar. Okay. I have a question over here, so I will give the mic over to this gentleman here.
Question on return to work. Now, is that just with the education, or can you go back to work with another field as far as the 36 months or 0.25?
It's just with an NMERB employer. Do you want to provide more information on that? Yeah, it's just with an NMERB employer. Okay.
So I'm going to retire in June. I want to come back to sub. Is ESS our sub people, that's who hires us? Are they considered an ERB employer?
If you are coming back to provide services for an LAU, a local administrative unit, regardless if you're going through a third-party administrator, you are required as a retiree to follow all the return to work rules.
Okay, we have another question.
What would be the best way to find out what your actual retirement would be? How do we figure that?
I'm sorry, ma'am, could you repeat that?
So, if you wanted to figure out what your actual retirement amount would be, where do we go to find that out? What's the best way?
The best way, always, we recommend and encourage all our members to register for a member self-service account. You can go onto our website and under My NMERB, you can register for a member self-service account. We have a calculator in there where you can play around, put different dates that you feel that you would like to see if you were to choose that as a retirement, and you can also work with a different beneficiary. So that's the best place to begin. Now, when you get closer to retirement and you're within 1 year, then we highly encourage that you request an official estimate. We have our form on our website, or you can contact us, and we can get you signed up so that you can get a request in, and then at that point in time we'll mail you an official estimate, which will be audited, meaning we will go through your entire career and file to confirm that all of your quarters are accurate, and then we'll provide you with that estimate at that time.
We have another question.
Another question, how long do you need to plan, like for the application process? Like, let's say you're planning to retire maybe a year or maybe half a year. What's the leeway as far as planning, then the application process and so forth?
We highly recommend that you submit your retirement application within 60 to 90 days from your retirement effective date, so your planned retirement effective date. Now, if you do plan to retire in July, that's our heaviest, our busiest season. So getting that in a little earlier, but 4 months in advance is great timing. That allows us for again, when we do a thorough audit on your file, there's times where we need to reach out to your employer on any questionable service. So that allows us to get that information back from the employer and then calculate and send you your paperwork in time.
Okay. We have another question here.
I have two questions, if I can remember the second one. The first one is, can you please, again, explain the difference between sitting out the 3 months and the year? And then the second one, you may have just explained it. There was a mention, the year, if we know we're retiring, let's say I start work next year and I realize that I'm going to retire at the end of the year, that I needed to contact you guys and you would go through and do something and make sure that this is what I really am going to get? What if I change my mind?
Okay, so let's start with your last question. So if you change your mind, you could always rescind your application. Now, when you request an official estimate, that's not saying you're going to retire. That doesn't lock you in. We only allow for one official estimate a year because we go through and we scrub your account, we clean that, we make sure everything is accurate. And then once you get that estimate, you could always go back onto your member self-service account and play with any other dates because your information is completely, your service is clean. So you could play with anything else. But once you put in your application for retirement, if you choose 30 days before you're going to actually retire to change your mind, you just contact us and rescind your application. You'll mail us a letter. I'll also recommend that you call us so that we have a note in your account that you want to rescind that application. And now for your first question that was on the return to work. If you were to, so the difference between the 36-month and the 12-month is if you're not retired yet, then you're not going to become eligible for the 12-month because you need to lay out an entire consecutive 12 months after retirement. So that will no longer be available after December 31st. For the 36-month consecutive or non-consecutive, what you'll do is you'll lay out at least 90 days and then from after retirement, and then you can work for 36 consecutive or non-consecutive months, and then after that you would need to find another program if you wanted to continue, meaning the 15,000, less than 15,000, or the 0.25 FTE. You will no longer, the 36 months is exhausted, and unless legislation changes, then that would change. But again, we don't know what the legislative session, any legislation will pass. It's 3 years at this point. Now, this past legislative session, there was a bill. It did not pass. That doesn't mean that it won't go back next year, but that was to increase that to 60 months. But we never know. Again, we don't know what will happen when the legislative season starts. You're welcome.
Coming.
So when you go onto the website and you see the amount of years that ERB is showing, so I was on today just kind of looking, and you're saying that it's every quarter that it goes up 0.25?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So so like I started in August, but it's only showing a 0.5 right now. Wouldn't it show a 0.75 at this point?
Well, so the quarter that we're in, if you started in August, I'm trying to think, it just depends if there's, again, is there any gaps in your service? Those are all different things that we look at, but your quarters, if you look here, and again, each quarter is broken out. So if you started in August, you'll still receive the July, August, September quarter because you worked at least 16 days in that quarter. So you'd receive that quarter. Now, we just closed, what month?
We just closed December quarter,
Okay.
and
So,
we're in the third quarter, which is January, February, March. And those quarters have not been posted yet. So you would only see through December.
All our postings are always in arrears, so that you would need to take that into account. And if you look at your member history, you'll see where you're actually getting service through. So it'll show what's been posted to your account. Here's another question behind you.
On the last one, it says purchase a service credit based on accumulated sick leave. So you can use your sick leave to purchase service credits that you didn't utilize or you qualify for?
It's complicated, but I'll try to explain it. So what it is it qualifies you to be eligible to purchase that service credit. It does not purchase that monies that you would have had if you were to get paid out, that you wouldn't get paid out. It's just basically providing you, you're giving that up, that sick leave up in order to have that eligibility to purchase. And the purchase itself is based on actuarial tables. So that's why we recommend that you go into, or we actually require, if you're going to apply to purchase for sick leave, you must go into the member self-service portal, calculate what it appears you would pay, and then at that point make the decision if you want to work with your HR to provide us what they would remove from your sick leave bank. If that makes sense.
So this is kind of a morbid question, but if I were to kick the bucket while I'm still working, would my beneficiary, my wife, would she get my benefit?
That's not a morbid question at all. That's what we do. We try to come out and provide this information because of those things. You've worked so hard for this benefit, and if something were to happen to you prior to retirement or even after retirement, making sure that your beneficiary is also taken care of that's a big part of the benefit. So what we ask is that you as a member have your beneficiary designation form updated at all times. You go on, if you're an active member, there is a pre-retirement beneficiary designation form. Whether that's your spouse or not, you want to make sure that you do submit one and it's valid and that's processed in our system.
We have another one.
This is about the accumulated sick leave. Can we purchase a partial year? I don't have enough for a full year, but partial year.
You could purchase up to 1 year, and that is so each 1 quarter. You could purchase a quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, or an entire year, depending on how much sick leave you have, the number of days. They accumulate to points, and depending on those points, then you are eligible for that many quarters, up to 1 year. That is dependent, it's a calculation, an actuarial calculation, so it's based on your salary, it's based on your years, your age. There's a large calculation. I recommend you go into the member self-service and you'll be able to use that calculator to look at what it would be to purchase any of our services.
Another question is the beneficiary. How much would they get? Is it like a lump sum, or is there like different? How do they go about it and distributing it?
So that depends also on if you're an active member and you pass away, if you complete a pre-retirement beneficiary designation form and you're vested, your beneficiary, if you choose for them to receive a survivor benefit, that would be calculated based on basically the same calculation that we calculate for you. They have the option, it also takes into account reductions and so forth based on age. So they are given options. So if you're under the age of 55 when you pass away, that amount, it'll show what you receive if you take it at 55, at 60, and we provide all that information. But it's all based on your account. Now, if you designate a refund beneficiary, and that's all you designate, then they would receive a lump sum of your contributions plus interest. They do not receive the employer portion. It would be your contributions and interest. These are good questions.
Do you guys have online tutorials so some of our members know where to, like looking at the tabs and just finding that information? A lot of times I have to show them or sit down with them, but I was just wondering if you guys had that available too.
That is a work in progress. That is one of my big goals that I'm going to be working on, is putting a bunch of how-to videos onto our website for members, for employers, for everybody, to access to see these, how to do this stuff. So yes, not yet, but yes, coming soon.
Does anybody else have any questions? Just keep in mind that for those that are participating online, they can, if they have any questions, they can direct them to their HR, school district, or the benefits department. For our internal staff, it's either Ariel and I that also takes care of ERB retirement, as well as the team up here. And if you're coming from another school district, your school district HR would also help you with the paperwork too. So just to kind of give you some information about that piece there. Does anybody else have any questions that I can run around to? I'm just kidding.
Can you explain the refund and the rollover process, or kind of shed some light on that? Because we do have a lot of employees who are separating from our district, and they have those type of questions for us.
Yeah, I'm going to hand this one back to Monica. She'll take it.
I can say if you just, I don't recommend refunding or rolling over contributions because what you're thinking today may not be something 5 years from now. We have so many members that they come back into the system and then they are asking to purchase withdrawn service credit, and that's costly. So if you are, especially if you are vested and you are leaving your employment, leave it in there, defer that, because when you become eligible with age and service, you are entitled to a benefit. However, everyone's situation is different. I realize that. And so we do have our refunds of contributions. You must be terminated from your employment, and depending on how long you're terminated, your employer must also certify your termination. Then once we receive that, it takes approximately 90 days from your termination to process that, and then you could either refund or roll over or do, partial rollover of those contributions. You do receive your contributions plus interest. If you roll over those contributions plus interest, then you're not taxed at that point. You're taxed later. If you refund that, you will incur the tax penalties. Does that answer your question? Okay.
just really quick, I sometimes get questions on employees asking, is it the 5-year that that you're fully invested, or what happens before 5 years, or like after 5 years? I mean, because people still kind of get confused on that. If you can just kind of clarify and explain that.
Sure. So at 5 years, you're vested, meaning you're eligible for a benefit at some point once you're eligible, right? Eligible meaning with all the other factors depending on your tier. So either with, if you only have 5 years at age, if you're tier 1, 65 and 5. If you're tier 3 or 4, 67 with 5 years. So 5 years makes you eligible to receive a benefit at some point. Does that make sense? Anytime before that, you're contributing, but until you reach that 5 years, you're not entitled to a benefit at some point in the future.
Okay.
Again, there's several members, they may have 4 years in, and then they leave the system thinking they'll never come back, and then they come back, and then your funds will continue to stay in there and accrue interest, so that later on, if you do come back, then you'll just pick up from there, and then you stay in that tier. If you withdraw your service, we have several members like this, you withdraw your service and you come back, a different year, legislation is passed and we have a different tier, you fall under that tier, regardless if you purchase that time or not.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? So we do have some flyers in the front too. In the front we have the benefit estimate form. We have the steps to retirement. We also have the address change information. If you want to change address, phone number, anything like that, there's forms up in the front area. So I think somebody had a question on that side. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Oh, she's coming with the microphone.
Let's say I'm planning for a refund. When is the best time to file for it?
You would need to terminate from your position first. So that at time of termination, if you can put in your application at that time, and then of course there's a portion from your employer. If you've been terminated for 90 days, then you don't need the official signature from your employer because you've been terminated more than 90 days. If you're moving, one thing that I failed to mention is, if you're moving from one school system to another, we cover 220 local administrative units. A lot of our members, they think that they're not connected. They are connected. So you can move from Kirtland to, say, APS or something else, and you continue to accumulate service credit with ERB. They're all local administrative units under our act, if that makes sense. But you just need to refund when you know you're terminated. We will not accept, and if anyone starts working again while they're putting in a refund application, it will be void. You won't be able to refund the contributions if you begin employment again. You can apply the day of the termination as long as your employer certifies that that's when you're terminating, because you would need to get their certification on that. You can, you mean, can you apply now if you're terminating in June? We would return it because your employer, unless your employer could certify that you're terminating and you're not coming back, it would have to stay pending until after wages for that quarter or that month have been posted, and then we would begin to process. So it would stay pending for quite a while. But right before you leave, you can, as long as your employer certifies that. But if you do that now, it's a little premature.
All right, if there aren't any other questions, I want to say again, thank you all for coming. Again, thank you, Ariel and Marlena, for everything. Chris and Jared up there, thank you guys. We appreciate you guys having us out here.
Let's mic drop. Yay, we survived. Let me move on. That one's not mine. Is that one in the reader guys'? No. Okay, so I'll move my stuff out of the way. Oh, it's yours? Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, you guys did a good job. Really good job. Thank you.
You did a lot getting this organized and together and
Organized, yeah. It takes a lot of energy and sucks it out of you, you know?
Now you can go home for the weekend and
At least
relax.
but we still gotta drive home and then we gotta get back in the car and drive again. But that's okay.